Welcome to the Baron's Hideout podcast. I'm your host,
And I'm
Dustin,
Aaron.
and today we're going to be talking about a movie that just released on April 16th. So we're not too late to the party. The movie is called Jacob's Wife, that stars Barbara Crampton and Larry Feziden, and they're both powerhouse actors in the horror genre. They've all done horror related stuff and stuff out of it, but mainly in the
Yeah,
horror genre. And I thought this movie was really fun.
yeah, it was.
What do you
Yeah, I
think,
thought it
Aaron?
was. I thought it was very fun too. It was kind of goofy, but it also kept you on your toes a little bit. Um, I
Yes.
thought it was pretty well thought out and written too. Um, it didn't take
Me
itself
too.
too seriously, which I enjoyed. Um, I had a few remarks that I
Yeah, a lot of
really
movies have been
liked.
doing that lately.
It's actually, you ever seen the movie Mom and Dad? It kind of get those with what's his name, Nicolas Cage in it. I get kind of the same vibes.
Mom and Dad. I'm trying to think. Have I seen that?
It's kind
I
of
might have.
messed up, but it was good. But
Like
a
a newer
couple
movie.
years old, I believe.
Sounds familiar. Maybe. I don't
But
know. Maybe I
yeah,
did watch it. If anything, I might have to go
but I
and
noticed a
rewatch
lot of
it.
movies are having that same kind of like I said, like vibe. It was kind of a dark movie too. I think like almost like the lighting wise, like something about the camera
Yes.
work. It's like it was dark, but it was also very bright at the same time.
It was
Yeah, yeah.
atmospheric. Very atmospheric. And it's dark in that way, and it's also dark
Oh
with the
yeah,
subject that
definitely.
it's definitely touching on. Before we jump into some of the facts and jump into the movie, I want to start talking about where you can find us when we're not doing our podcast. So we're pretty much on everything, guys. We're here on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/the Baron's Hideout underscore podcast. And then you can find us on Twitter, which is also. Let me go and double check because I had to switch things over. On Twitter, it's at the BHO underscore podcast. And then we're also on Instagram, and that's just the Baron's Hideout. Aaron, where can they
You can
find you?
find me mostly on Instagram. I'm not really on much else, but my Instagram is in the link tree along with the other accounts. So all I post is really animals and um,
Yes,
music
the
memes
cuddly
and
stuff.
any horror related stuff, and as well as updates about the podcast. So you can find me on there. Feel free to give me a follow.
So we're trying very hard to stay as active as we can on everything else, because we really want to get ourselves out there a little bit, and we're
Yeah.
getting there. Oh, and we're also on TikTok, and I usually don't really go on that a lot. That's mainly just for like promos and other stuff for the podcast, and I believe that's just the Baron's Hideout as well. Um, so that's a little bit of where you can find us on the interwebs. We try to be on here as much as possible. Especially me, I do a lot of personal. Well, not I wouldn't say personal, but off podcast topics during the week. I try to stream game like horror games and stuff. I do that usually Thursday through Friday, and then Sunday, which would be the day after the podcast because we stream on Saturdays. So I try to do that to kind of keep things flowing a little bit and maybe get a little bit more word out and
Yeah.
all that good
I'd
stuff.
like to start getting back into some games
And
with you. So
yeah, we will be doing that definitely because I'm actually going through some of the Resident Evils right now. So once we get to some of the co-op stuff, we can maybe do
yeah.
that again because that was always fun. Um, trying to think if there's anything else
Um,
that we should
you can check
be.
out our Patreon.
Oh, Patreon. How did I forget about that? I guess because it's so new that I always forget. Yeah, that's just the Baron's Hideout underscore podcast as well, and we have 3 tiers there. I usually do this every episode, but I want to do it again just to go through all the tiers because I always forget. Um, so give me one second
Yeah,
to
they
pull
start
that
off at
up.
about a dollar, I believe. Each one comes with its
Yes.
own benefits. Every little donation helps. We appreciate everything. Anything that you guys can do.
Yes, I know you guys. We're all kind of hurting for some sort of penny these days, but anything if you guys are enjoying the content here and you want a little bit extra, Patreon is where
All
it's at.
support us.
So, yes, I will run through the tiers right now. So our first one is Dead Meat. That starts at $1, and that includes a shout out. So we'll be listing you guys on all the other places that the podcast gets listed on. You get access to our Patreon Discord, so you guys can go in there and talk to us whenever. You also get early access to all the audio versions. So after this episode is done airing, I go and upload that by the end of Saturday, so before Sunday. And also, you get a bonus episode every Wednesday. We started doing 2 weeks ago. We do topic-based
Topic-based episodes, yeah.
episodes over
Last
there.
week we talked about remakes.
And then, yep, last week was remakes, and before that was Salem Horror Fest. And do we want to tell them what we're going to be doing this
We'll
week,
keep it
Aaron?
a
Do you want to
surprise
tell
for
them?
now. We'll make an announcement.
Okay. He wants to keep it a surprise, so we'll see what he has in store. Because he's picking next week's episode. Then our next tier is Killer, which starts at $3, and that includes everything the first one does. But it includes all of our notes that we use for all the episodes. It gets listed on there for you. Then also we have monthly AMAs that we want to start doing. We haven't really set a date yet, but it's something that we do want to start doing. And also, you guys, if you are signed up for 3 months, you get a sticker from us.
Stickers. Who doesn't
So
like
the
stickers?
continued support, stickers. And then our final tier, which is Psycho, that's $6, which includes everything the last two tiers have. Then you also get gifted a sub on our Twitch channel, so you can use all of our emotes, and you can use them in any other Twitch channel you guys go onto. And then also, you get some power to help us pick movies that we haven't reviewed. So if there's something that you're like, oh man, I really want Dustin and Aaron to go and review, have the option to do it there by signing up for the Psycho. And that's pretty much all that I have on Patreon. Aaron, if there's anything you want to add before we start jumping into some facts, or are you good? And we can just
I think
start
we can
talking about
jump
this
on
movie.
right in.
Okay, we'll start with a couple facts right now, and then once we start talking about some characters, I have some stuff I want to talk about with them. So, Aaron, is there anything that you have listed that you want to say fact-wise?
I didn't have too much that you didn't have, so I just have a little bit of a synopsis here, and so
Okay,
oh
if you want
yeah.
to read it, go right ahead.
So today's movie, as you know, is Jacob's wife. Who is she? Well, we'll find out with this movie. Anne, who is married to a small town minister, she starts to get bored with her home life. She starts to question her life choices, classic midlife crisis. And then then she meets the master. Who's the master? Ooh.
Master. Who's the
Um,
master? Well,
we'll get into that. And then big changes start to occur. Without giving away too much until we get into it. That's a gist of what this is about. It is a vampire movie. I will say that.
Yes. So if you guys like vampires, this is definitely a movie for you. I know some people are like, "Oh, I'm so over vampires. I'm over zombies
It's a
and
nice
all that
fresh
stuff,"
take.
but this definitely has like a pretty good fresh take because of the topic that this movie is pretty much surrounded by, and also just how it is. I really enjoyed this movie. So this was released also for a limited time in theaters. I think it was just the first week of when it was released, April 16th, and it made $27,000.
For a B-side movie,
good.
yeah, I'd say so. It had a pretty low budget too.
Yeah, and it was very low budget, and Travis Stevens, this was actually his first movie he directed. He produced a lot of other stuff, so very, very good on him. I have some Rotten Tomato scores here as well. The overall critic score was 85, and I'm really disappointed in the audience.
Yeah, I saw that. I was
know
too.
It's still really early, but they have it as a 56%. So if anybody's listening and you want to go boost the score, because I'm definitely going to be doing that after we're done with this, please do that, because this movie
deserves the praise.
A lot more. And then one final piece of facts before we start going into the actual movie some of the other stuff I have here, fact-wise, I want to wait until a little bit later on. This was actually Barbara Crampton's first official producer credit.
Mhm.
She has produced other movies, but she was never really credited as a producer. So from all the movies that she's made and all the years and everything, this is the very first time that she was actually getting the credit for it, and I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. She definitely deserves it, and this movie is fan fucking
Tutti
tastic.
fucking fruity.
Tutti fucking fruity. Yeah, go watch our on The Devil's Rejects
And then you'll get that.
podcast episode. Yeah. So we're gonna jump into the movie
Jacob's
now,
wife.
which once again is Jacob's wife. So we start with a black screen. We get some title credits, and we hear some rats screeching and making some noise, and some ominous music as well. Then it comes out of the black, and there's this one rat in front of a church. So you're kind of trying to already figure out what is going on in this town and all this other stuff, because it had the way that it's shot is so
It's very eerie,
creepy.
yeah.
With it just being a rat and it just being a church, nothing really fancy. I think the rat's cleaning itself
Yeah.
as well, so it's like, what the hell?
Is this
And
town
then
abandoned or
it
something?
kind of goes, yeah, and then the camera starts going through all these empty rooms, and it's just like, what? And then it goes to the church, and you see everybody sitting there. So I guess what they're trying to imply there is that this is a small town. Everybody kind of drops everything, and this once it's church day, which is
Everybody's there.
Sunday, everybody
Very
goes there.
religious.
So that's why, yeah, that's why everything is it's empty. So I'm kind of happy that they were showing that. I don't know if it's really a necessary thing that they needed to do, but just to give it a little bit more of emphasis on how this
Yeah.
town is, how everybody's like so tight and everybody
Hmm.
knows each other and they all meet up here. It's very good. Then we start hearing the minister, who is Jacob. Crap, I forget the last
Uh,
name. How could I forget the last
Vetter.
name?
Like Eddie Vetter.
Fetter. That's it. Yes. And so he starts talking about husbands love your wife. That's a quote. He says that, and he's talking about God loving like the church,
Mhm.
I believe, and he's like saying how he taking care of it, making sure that there's like no blemishes or anything, and kind of just want to take care of it, and also take care of your wife the same way. And he also says, "He who loves his wife loves himself," which I think is pretty goddamn powerful, man. For the beginning of a movie,
Yeah.
it's kind of already setting up like, are these people in this town like not in loving relationships? Are people falling apart?
Or is
And
it
as he's
foreshadowing?
talking about this, you see, yeah, and then you see Barbara Crampton also, which her name is Anne, is wife to Jacob, is the minister or priest.
Minister, yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, he doesn't. Yeah, minister, because he doesn't refer to himself as a priest, and we'll talk about that later on. I have a few quotes on that, and she's just kind of in the pews. She looks very like she doesn't want to be there, and very
Just
like not there like mentally or
yeah.
anything. She's just
She's
sitting there.
checked
I
out.
think she's crumpling a piece of paper. So you kind of get the understanding like, okay, maybe it's his relationship. At this point you don't know that they're together, but either way you find out very quickly that they're definitely husband and
Yeah.
wife. Then after you get the speech, Jacob, who's the minister, and Anne, they stand next to each other and they start greeting everybody after the sermon. And Aaron, I'll let you take it away from here, and you can let us know what happens next because it's
All
kind
right.
of cool.
This is when they meet Amelia, right? I believe, yeah.
Yes.
So they're talking to the crowd. A girl named Amelia comes up to Anne and Jacob. They ask her, "Oh, we haven't seen your mother in a while." Uh, she goes, "Yeah, she's back in the booze. She's drinking again." Um, she goes,
Yeah.
"Maybe you can go talk to her." So Jacob says, "Okay, he's a good guy." He's like, "I'll go check in on her," and um,
Yeah, you can definitely tell that he's
he cares about
very
his community.
yeah, he's very sweet and warm, And then when you look at
She's
Anne,
almost like cold and dead
opposite, and that's what I
inside.
really like. She's
Yeah.
very cold. Just from like the first like two frames you see of her, she's very, very
That's
cold
why I
and
think
very warm.
she's perfect for like this type of movie too. Like she has very pale skin, so like
Dude, super pale, and I was trying to look this up too. Sorry guys, we're going on like a little bit of like an off road here, but I was trying to look it up to see if they applied more makeup to make her look
mhm.
really pale.
I think
I
she's
couldn't
just
find
naturally
anything,
like a
but
very pale person.
yeah, because then like I also went like and kind of looked at some other frames from when we were watching
Hmm.
Your Next. She was also very
Yeah.
pale in that, and then I went back all the way back to Reanimator, which was like her
Yeah.
first movie. Super fucking pale. So I think Barbara Crampton is just
Isn't
pale all the time. It must be something like what is that called when you
that
have
like
like
low iron? Yeah,
low
yeah.
iron. I think she might suffer
Anemia,
from
something like
that.
that. I think it's
That's
called.
usually yeah anemia. I think
Yeah.
anemic. I think is what it
But
is. Yeah.
anyways, yeah, I don't know. It fits though. It works. She looks good now though. Still.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
being
Right.
62.
Anyway.
Like her and like Cassandra Peterson are just like they still
Yeah.
look amazing. Like it's crazy.
But anyways, back on track. They're talking to this girl named Amelia
Yeah.
about her mother being an alcoholic. It sounds like she quit drinking for a while, was going to church, and then stopped showing up. Um, so they have their conversation. Everybody leaves. Amelia's walking home alone, and I believe it's the master she comes across, but it doesn't really give away too much. Um, but she goes missing. Uh,
Yep.
then we cut over to the police talking to Jacob and Anne, questioning about this girl named Amelia going missing. They found oh
Yep.
that's movie, but yeah, um, yeah, uh,
Yeah. This whole scene like this is I think I didn't write it down, but I think it's about 13 or 14
mm-hmm.
minutes in, and it's already getting like super crazy.
Someone's
This is kind
already
of like
missing
a repeat of like when we were watching Your Next because things like went super
really fast.
hardcore in like
Yeah.
20 minutes into that movie. Yeah, so like when she's like walking home because we're following her and we're getting like this all this
Yep.
ominous music and all this other stuff, and then it starts getting even more intense as it gets darker and darker, and as she gets closer to home because she makes it home. She's in
Oh,
front
that's
of
right.
her house, and then she starts hearing things, and then she's like, and then a rat scares her, which I think is like
Hmm.
really funny. And then you faintly hear someone say, "I'm here," and then she's like, "What?" She's like, wicked, like freaking out, super hardcore. Like, I'll just run in the house, man. Screw it. Just run in your house. I know that your mom's probably drinking and whatever, but just
Yeah. Right.
just go. You're right there. Dude, don't even worry about it. Whatever. Um, and then as she like turns, you see someone grab her, and then it's like you see hands, but everything else is black. And one thing I do have to note, I love the way that every time, because this is the
Hmm.
master. Every time that you see the master, you see a
I
little
did
bit
notice that.
more of him. It's very like graceful, and it's not like
Yeah.
boom, here he is immediately. Like you don't really see the master until much the very end
Yeah.
of the movie, and I think it's probably like the best part of the whole movie. Well, besides maybe like one other part, but it's very good. Then we get after that, leading up to like when we start seeing the police is uh, I think Anne's like doing some
Oh,
workout and
yep.
stuff and gardening and cooking, so we kind of get like a glimpse into like what her everyday life is and what Jacob does and all this other stuff. But then that's when the
That's
cops come
right.
knocking.
Um,
Um,
then that's when they're having a conversation about her old friend named Tom, right?
uh, I think that's after the dinner, but we're
Oh,
close
great.
to
I
that.
must have
I
missed
think
a part.
I literally like wrote down like every scene. Um, a lot of these aren't really necessary, but like to have a group dinner and they're also talking about Amelia
Oh, right,
there
right.
and saying like, oh, maybe she ran off with a boyfriend or and stuff like this, and Anne's like, no, I don't think she's
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Um, but you also kind of get a little bit of tension between Anne and Jacob too, because like she'll say something and then he'll like go after and say like, well, she wasn't like that, and then
yeah,
and Anne would be like, well, you don't know, and then a bunch of other stuff, and then I wrote down that there was gratuitous teeth brushing because
yeah.
this is when Jacob is like really going after his teeth, and then you get the snoring scene, and Anne's just like,
She's
she
like,
looks
shut the
so
fuck
fucking
up, shut
dumb.
the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like, oh my god, like what the hell? And then this is when we start
Oh,
getting
it's the morning
so I'll let you
after.
talk about that. Yeah, so like we didn't really need to talk about that, but I
It's
have it
in
written
there,
down,
so.
so that's fine.
But yeah, uh, so we cut to the next morning. Anne and Jacob, they're having a conversation over breakfast, if I remember correctly. Um,
Yep.
and she wants to go see an old friend named Tom, and Jacob, an old
Yeah.
flame. Jacob naturally doesn't like that at first, but he just kind of brushes it off. He's like, I'm a minister. She's not gonna, you know.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and I guess he was living in, I want to say, I forget where they said he was living, Kentucky or somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it was like Kentucky or something around
I could
there.
be
Yeah, I'm
wrong,
pretty sure.
but and he's in.
I didn't really. I didn't write that where he was
It's
down
not
from.
super
Like, I
important
don't know if it
anyway.
really matters that much.
But yeah, so he's in town to work on an old mill. Doesn't really specify what kind of mill. Could be a steel mill or what, but
Yeah. It's just like, oh,
um,
okay.
so and I guess the reason he's meeting up with Anne. I'm assuming she must be like working like what's it called? We sell properties and um, real
A
estate,
real
yeah,
estate
or
agent.
something along the lines of that.
Yeah, I was kind of getting that too, but I don't think we ever really understand what her
Yeah,
job is. Like, we know what Jacob does, but it's like everybody else besides like the cop, we don't know what other.
yeah,
I know when Amelia's going home, we see like all the shops and
hmm,
stuff, but we don't really like know
yeah,
what Anne does or like his brother and
yeah.
stuff
You
like
don't get a
that.
lot too in depth into a lot of the characters. I think it's mostly Jacob and Anne that we focus on, and then obviously the master.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, the
the
master.
master.
Um, so they decide to get dinner. She arrives late. It appears he's already got his drink in hand. He's got his phone on the table. He's waiting anxiously.
And she's super dolled up.
Yeah, she does not want to be there though. But she also does not want to be with Jacob. um,
Yeah, exactly. It's like am I doing the
yeah.
right thing type thing.
She has second thoughts on it, and she goes, maybe we should do this another time. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
so they have dinner, and then they go check out the old mill afterwards, I believe, right? Right after.
Yep. They pretty much like have their drinks and then they go right
That's
over
right.
there. But before we jump into that, I want to go over two people we already were introduced to, and I want to talk about like
Oh
their
yeah.
backgrounds. So Amelia, I went to go look up like what she's done, but her name is Naisha Bell, and this is actually her first
Oh.
credit, her
Oh yeah.
first movie credit, and I have to say she does a really good
Mm-hmm.
job, dude. Especially when
Further in the movie, yeah.
when we go
Mm-hmm.
further in the movie. And another thing that I think people might catch on also is where is it? So Tom Lowe is also played by Robert Russler, who was pretty much a main character in Nightmare on Elm
Mm-hmm.
Street 2. He was very, very young. He was the best friend of shit.
What's her
I
name?
forget all the
The
names.
girl?
No, the dude. I forget his name, and I can't believe I did. But anyway, he's in that. He's been in other movies as well. Um, but that's the one that he's pretty much known for. And I guess we can go over Barbara and Larry as well. So Barbara, as you guys know, she's Barbara Crampton, who is playing Anne in this movie, and she was also in Reanimator, Castle Freak, You're Next, and so many other ones. And she was any movie that pretty much had like anything to do with H.P. Lovecraft stuff. She was pretty much on that. Then Larry Feziden, I think I'm saying his last name
Oh.
right, who's playing Jacob. His first movie was Habit, which I found out that he directed, I think he wrote, and he produced it. And it was his first movie, and I think that was also a
Mm-hmm.
horror movie. And he was in Broken Flowers. And what I didn't know, and I found out, which I'm like really happy, one of my favorite movies, House of the Devil, he produced
Oh
that.
wow.
So he was a producer on that. And then he was also in like another Shudder original called The Ranger. Played an uncle. I don't think I watched that movie, which I need to because there was a lot of good
Mm-hmm.
talk about that movie when that came out. But that's pretty much I think all I have for right now. I won't go into his brother and stuff until we really
Yeah.
start seeing him a little bit more. So where are we at when they're
Yep.
at the
They're at
mill?
the mill.
Yeah, so they arrive at the mill and they're going in there to check it out. Well, quote unquote,
Check it
check it
out.
out. And then it's all dark in there. There's no lights, nothing. Like you don't see them try to turn on any switches or anything. I guess the power might be out because obviously it's not working, so they just shut off the power. That would be my guess. But I would think if I'm having someone to come look at a property, I
Have
would
the lights
go and
turned on.
be like, hey, can you like reestablish the electricity, or it's
Yeah.
just for the lights. But then again, I think this is kind of like the spur of the moment thing. That kind of just like, okay, let's do this because we get the confirmation that he says that he pretty much only took this job to see Anne because I guess they dated when they were younger, a
Yeah.
lot younger. And they're walking, and then we get like a little jump scare that he scares Anne a little bit, like disappears in the darkness very
Pops up with a
quickly.
flashlight on.
Then yeah, then they look forward and they see two crates, and Anne's like, how the hell did those get here? And he sits down and then says, "Come here, I won't bite you."
She's like,
And it's just like,
did you
oh,
hear her too?
whatever.
The little comment she makes. She's like, I'm not so sure about that, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're sitting there, and then they sit down and they talk a little bit more, and then I think they start making out, and then she's like, "Whoa, yo, I can't. I don't know if I can do this to Jacob." Then the box moves, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And this is when things start really going south on this movie. Like
Oh
things are
yeah.
starting to get really good. So they open up the box, and it's just one rat, and he closes it. He's like, "Did you see the fucking size of that thing?" And then the other box opens, and I think grabs like a 2x4 or somebody grabs
Yeah.
something, I think, and they go to like investigate it. He opens up the thing, and it's just like hundreds of
Just
rats
pouring out.
just devouring him, and it's great. Like you see like his effect work very briefly, but like his fingers
Mm-hmm.
are like gone, his face is all like eaten away, and then like Anne's like freaked out, and then we see another glimpse of the master, which we see a little bit more. See the red eyes, see the cape, and then that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. Then it cuts to, let's see, I want to make sure I'm lining up my notes right. Yeah, so Jacob, we cut back home. He's like on the phone, I think, with Carol,
Bob's
who's
wife, right?
um Bob's wife, so his
Yeah.
brother's wife. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know if you guys knew where she was or anything." And then Anne walks through the door. You don't see her face or anything. She kind of just rushes up the stairs, and Jacob's like, "Where have you been?" And it's like super late. It's got to be probably at least like 10 or
Yeah.
11 at night, if I had to guess by like how
Mm-hmm.
dark it is outside. And it sounds like he's making tea or something because like, the
Starts
teapot goes
steaming.
off, and he's talking to her, but the whole time she's just facing forward. All you see is like her back, and she just seems very cold and
Very
kind of
distant.
continuing how she
Yeah.
already was. Yeah, but you can tell there's something a little bit
Yeah.
off. Then she runs to the bathroom, and this part actually kind of creeped me the fuck out, dude. Just like how Barbara like uses her face on this part is crazy. So she runs in there and she puts down her purse. She opens up like her coat, blood everywhere, and she's just soaked in it. her eyes are red, and she's like even paler
Mm-hmm.
now. It seems like so maybe they did apply a little bit more makeup. But like she starts breaking down, crying, but then she like opens her mouth so wide, and she's just like kind of screeching a little bit, and like it's. I was like, whoa, dude, this is like nightmare fuel. Like Barbara, good on you for like really working your face on this because you did a really good job. Then we cut to the morning, and we get some gratuitous workout. Jacob is asking like, "You're not making any breakfast or anything?" And she's like, "Not hungry." He's like,
He's like, I'll pick
"Okay."
something up.
um, yeah, it's like I'm just gonna pick something up on the way then. And she continues to
Very
work out.
intensely.
Then he gets to his car.
She's
What?
working out very intensely too. Like,
Yeah, very very intensely. Then we get to see him in his car, and right here I had a little bit of a thought process. So Aaron, I want to know what you're taking is on this part because he sits down. It looks like he looks back, which I think is back
yeah.
to the house, and then he looks at the cross, and I'm thinking this is what I wrote down. I think it implies he's losing faith in the relationship, can't find the strength to
Hmm.
because he's looking to the cross like God give me
Yeah.
strength to either end it or to keep me going with it. So I want to know what do you think about that little
I
scene
think
there?
it could be like what's the word like thought taken either way, but I guess but
Yeah,
um I think at this point, yeah, it's probably more of a like, just I please let this work, or because
yeah, like
he doesn't
give
know
me the
what's going on
strength
at
and
this point. Yeah, he just knows that she's being distant. He's like, or like, what did I do, kind of thing.
yeah, because he looks at that cross pretty like kind of
Mm-hmm.
sad like too. Like he's not like mad or
He's
anything. He's just like very
disappointed, yeah,
disappointed.
but
And then we get like another like really creepy scene. It cuts back to Anne. She like stops working out and she's like crawling on the floor and she keeps repeating,
what do you
"Who
want?
are you and what do you want?" And she's looking in the mirror. And one thing this movie does, like yes, this is vampires, but no, they do not burn in the sun. No, they don't. No, you see them in the mirror reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, this is kind of like going way ahead. But she does say that she's not fully turned
Yeah,
yet. Is that's like what she said at the very end of the movie. So I wonder if with her being turned, if that would
change
have
that. Yeah.
like if she would be like burning
Well, there was that part at the
in the sunlight
dentist
and
too.
yeah, but yeah,
That's because, see,
hmm,
that was my first thought was like, is it that something that could actually happen, or is it because, she was bit by a
yeah.
vampire?
I mean that is like super intense
Like UV light,
light.
yeah.
So I wonder if it was just like so powerful that it just yeah we'll get to that.
But
um, so then we go back to the church. I think I think that's later on when he's writing his sermon. We don't really know why he's going to the church. I think it's just to be there to make sure
I
everything's
thought he
all
was
good.
checking on
So
someone.
it seems like he's yeah maybe that too. And then we cut to him. It looks like he's coming home
Yeah.
now. So he's like leaving the church, and then there's these two people. I just called them troublemakers. One of them is named Oscar, but I forget what the other girl's name is because they only said her
Yeah, I
name
forget what
once. So I kind of just called her troublemaker. And then this is the part that really got me to laugh. It's because they're smoking weed there, and he's like, "Oh, you need to give me that," and then they're like, "Well, this isn't like the 1970s or whatever," and he's like, "Well, it's still illegal." And then Oscar says, well, "Why don't you molest um an altar boy or something?" And then he's like, "You mistake me for a priest. I'm a minister. This is a church." So I was just like, "Really?" That's really funny. I
And
like
then he
that little
takes the joint
conversation
away
right
from
there.
him too and puts it in his pocket.
Yeah, and it's just like I honestly I really thought like he was
And
just gonna
just
go in the
smoke
car
it,
and just
yeah.
smoke it, but
It
no,
comes back
he
later
doesn't.
though. Yeah.
It definitely does. So then Jacob arrives home. he grabs a drink and yeah, so he's like looking for Anne. It's like all dark in the house. I think he's actually turning on
Yep.
lights and stuff too. Can't find Anne, and he's like drinking. I don't know if it's a beer, if it's a soda. I
That's
was
what I was
trying to
trying to
look
say. It
at the
might be like
label, but it was
seltzer
very
water or some shit
dark.
like that. He
Yeah,
seems like the type.
and it might be. Yeah, and then get like a little teeny tiny bit of a jump scare with her hand like grabbing his shoulder, and she's like got a new haircut,
She's wearing
all
a
in
thing on
red,
her
which
neck,
looks
a
really
scarf.
good. Yeah, a
It's
little
like a
scarf,
classic
and
telltale
then
sign.
she's like, "Let's go
I
out."
want to go out.
So yeah. So we get like a little bit of an awkward like dinner scene. She's just staring at him, and he's like munching away on meat, and you hear it like
I know. It's
really
like one of those
intensely.
ASMR, like fucking chewing. Ugh.
Yeah,
I
and it's just like,
can't stand the sound of chewing.
why? Then I guess the waiter comes over, and I don't know what he says, but she she looks at him, and then we get this like really like weird like hilarious like wink, and then like a sound effect, and it's just like, what? That's so random. So this is like when we get a little bit more of like
Little
comedy
humor,
introduced
yeah.
into the film, because I feel like everything up until this point you can kind of take it semi seriously, and it's kind of like really being serious on itself, but now it's kind of lightening up because things are
Yeah.
getting weird, and Anne's weird, and like Jacob's even kind of like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And she's not eating her
Yeah.
dinner, and then he asks her to have the wine, and then she's takes a sip, and she's like, I'm and then Aaron, I'll let you discuss the
All
next
right.
part.
Yeah, so after the dinner scene, this is the grocery store, I believe. There wasn't anything too important in between before then. Okay.
No, not
Because
really.
that's where I cut to.
It's pretty much just Jacob going to write
Yeah.
his sermon and all that stuff. But yeah, the grocery store scene is very important.
So she goes to the grocery store, she's doing her shopping. She's got a thirst at this point, enough to
Yeah, you can
you can
tell.
see it. So she's looking at the steaks. She decides to poke her finger through the plastic and get a nice finger full of some blood and starts slobbering on her finger. And this guy comes up to her, the deli, and is like, "Can I help you?"
I love this guy. I love this guy so
He's
much.
like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "How much can I get of that?" "You mean the blood?"
Yeah, like he looks down and he looks up like 2 or 3 times, and he's just like, "What, the blood?"
And then you cut out to
Very
her
funny.
walking out of the grocery store, the carriage full of steaks. He must have like just drained the fucking blood out of each of the packages and charged her for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's a
guessing. Because
lot of
that's a lot,
steak.
dude. That's a lot of money.
No,
Steak's
right?
not cheap.
And if I remember reading the label correctly, it wasn't a cheap steak either.
No, I think it was like $16 or $17 or something like
But
that.
yeah. Um Anyways, yeah, so she buys a bag of steak and some blood. She's at then we cut to her at home by herself. Uh Pours her blood into a wine glass. Um a
A
big
big
glass,
glass
yeah.
too, if I
She's there.
remember
She's a
correctly.
thirsty girl. um and so she tries the blood for not the first time, but like, she takes her first like real sip of blood and just she looks
Yeah,
kind of like almost
yeah,
like she likes it, but at the same time she's like, what the fuck am I doing?
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, oh, what am
Yeah.
I right now?
Oh my god, sorry, my camera keeps falling. Um
That's okay.
but so then she starts she plays her music, and which actually I think it's the song is like something about being a vampire or something like that if you listen to the lyrics.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing
Um
too. They did say some stuff
yeah.
about vampires in the
Um
song. Yeah.
so she's dancing around. She has a lamp. She's carrying it around almost like Lion King style. She's like, whoa.
Yeah,
She puts it
literally.
down and lifts up the couch like it's nothing, and Jesus Christ. My apologies.
Camera does
No,
not
not at
like you
all.
today.
Um, she's lifting up the furniture and just like rearranging the living room, and then puts it back. Um, and then I think she decides to chug the rest of the blood or something like along the lines of that.
Yeah,
Um,
Yep.
gets on her knees. You can tell she's not feeling well, and she pukes all over the white rug, just straight blood.
Yep. Everything that she just drank, she just like chucked. Just weird. I wonder if there's like a certain type of like zombie that was written. I mean, not
Vampire.
zombie. Sorry, vampire that was written somewhere that like they can drink the blood, but I wonder if they just don't
Mm,
hold it. Which is weird
or maybe,
because I haven't seen that in any other like
yeah,
vampire movie or anything of like them drinking blood and then them puking it all
yeah.
up again.
Maybe it's
It's
just like a little detail, like her body adjusting to, the new diet or whatever. But
maybe, yeah, it could be like
something
a
like that.
response.
I mean, because I'd probably, if I chugged a wine glass full of blood, I'd probably puke it up too.
Ugh. I don't even like want to think of that texture because
It's
blood
very
has
like
like.
it coagulates really fast and like gets real thick.
And then it's
Uh, I
irony
know,
and
right?
ugh.
Um,
Don't even.
um,
I love horror stuff.
yeah,
I'm not
right.
drinking blood.
So yeah, she's having a great grand old time by herself. And I believe this is when she meets the master again, right? Or a woman, one of the vampires in the yard. Someone in the yard.
um, it is the master, and then I think before that too, Jacob goes to see his brother and talks to him about
Oh, right,
Anne
right.
and Tom.
Um, yeah,
So like it's important, just but not really. It's just like what the hell's
Bob.
his name?
Yeah.
Bob.
Well,
I keep wanting to call him Ed for some reason, but I think
yeah,
it's Bob. So Jacob's brother Bob just like kind of tells him, because Jacob's like, I don't know what's going on with Anne. Ever since she saw Tom, like she's been acting strange, and he's like, listen, you need to go find that motherfucker,
just
and
call him out in the
you
shit.
set him straight and let him know
Yeah,
what's going on. And like his brother seems
I
very
know.
violent. Like I don't know if you were getting like that kind of vibe too, but he's very like if Carol did this, like I would kill somebody. Like that's what
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe from because he even says
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Um, and
But yeah, then we get the
that's
scene with
right.
the
Isn't so you
master.
can tell Jacob's like freaking out, like stressed at this point because he's like, "You want some coffee or tea?" And he was like, "Give me something stronger." He's like, "Do you want some tea with whiskey?" He's like, "Leave out the tea." And he just takes a shot of whiskey
Yeah,
like
just give me
nothing.
give me it. I'll drink the whole
So if
bottle
a
now.
minister's drinking like that, then something's wrong. But yeah, so then Anne finds herself being attracted to a window. She has a voice, she has some
Yeah.
noises. She sees a figure.
Yeah, she like gets out
Yeah,
of bed too, so she's like laying down, and I think she gets
yep.
woken up or something.
Um, but anyways, so she walks towards the window. She's another creepy figure in the yard. Again, you get a little bit more of the master this time. To get some of his claws coming out. Um,
Yeah, and I think the back of
yep,
his head too, so you get like the color of him
yeah.
and stuff like that.
So she's just staring at him. They're staring back at each other. He's about probably 30 feet away. He's
Yeah, and I think there's rats and stuff on
Oh
the wall
yeah,
too.
there's a
Like there's a
shit
bunch
ton of
of
rats climbing on the side of
rats,
their house.
which is like,
Um,
that's interesting.
yeah, and he's like whispering stuff to her. If I remember correctly, he's controlling her though. Um,
Yeah, like I thought the scene was really good.
yeah, it took a
I mean,
turn.
it's
Because she like it was very like sexual.
it's kind of like I was trying to kind of dissect this to see like
Because
what it was. I think it was probably, if I had to guess, he's trying to break her in
her
like out of
impurities, or like he's trying to, yeah,
whatever she yeah, like whatever she's feeling right now, and just trying to get her to be more in tune with herself,
yeah.
I would guess, because like having like her like pull down her sleeves, and then she like starts like fingering herself and like all this other stuff, and then like, sorry about the language, guys, but it's
That's
just
what
like
she's doing.
you don't yeah, like you don't see, like physically like see her doing that, but you see her from
She's
like the
enjoying
backside.
herself.
Yeah, but and she's in a trance too, so she's not
Yeah.
really like herself. She's being controlled at this point.
But
So
like, and I guess that's part, like, do you know how like in like werewolf movies and shit like that too, like there's always something that like attracts them to, like, they obviously, they want the
yeah,
victims to willingly come to them and like turn, or like, so like they'll find
yes,
something that like attracts them. And I think that's what this was. She was stressed. He wanted to give her pleasure to kind of like, get her to be like, whoa, maybe this isn't so
yeah,
bad.
yeah. Now that you're saying that, yeah, I think that's
He was trying to
probably
like
exactly
attract
like
her
what's
into
going on.
being a vampire.
Yeah, like you need to come.
You need to come to me.
Like you, yeah, we'll make you one of me.
But
Oh, yeah, so I think that's definitely
that's
what's
what I
going on.
figured at least. But
I
yeah.
like that take.
And then we cut to the dentist, I believe, right? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Jacob
Jacob
also
walks
walks
in.
in
She's in the
too.
middle of doing her thing, and he's like, "And what the hell? What? Well, he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "It wasn't me."
Yeah, so we get to the next day, which I think is another church
Yep.
scene, and I have a quote here that Jacob says. It's how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? Then he says, you don't. So like he's like preaching to everybody, and like once again, this is him pretty much talking about himself and
Mm-hmm.
and Anne, and like it's a lot of foreshadowing ever since the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie. It's like, how do you know if you're gonna like be okay? It's like you don't. And then also we see like Anne in the garden, and she
Oh
finds a
yeah.
worm, eats a fucking worm, and then this is when we get to the
Oh
dentist where
yeah.
dentist is like, Anne, what the hell have you been eating? And then she's like, oh, it's like it looks like dirt. And then she's like, you got new teeth coming in. She's like,
Oh
huh?
yeah. You got those weird little
Yeah. So he's
fangs in
like,
the top of her mouth, like in the
yeah, it's so weird. Usually when
and
you see
like on the
vampires,
sides,
it's
on the
like their
front.
actual
Yeah, like the
fangs.
canine teeth.
Yeah, not at the front.
Yeah.
So
Which was kind of a nice little
then
like detail, to change things up, I guess, in the like with the whole vampire, like
yeah.
um
Yeah, this movie is pretty refreshing. It is kind of a new take on vampires, and it really brings something new. They don't really go like super crazy with like details and stuff on like what the vampires are doing, but just because it's all focused on Anne and like her
yeah.
transformation and stuff like that. So, yeah, and then they pull out a teeth whitener machine, and I think this is what they actually use. I
Me
never got
either.
my teeth this way, so I don't know. So she hooks up to a machine, and she's just sitting there getting her teeth whitened, and then she like looks up, and then things start getting like really bright, and then her face just like goes into flames. She's like, what the fuck? And then she like pushes the thing away, and then her face is like all black. She's running down the hallway, and her dentist
Just
just
like,
looks
what the
at her, and
fuck?
she's just like, peace, I'm out of here, motherfuckers. I don't know what's going on. Then Jacob now I think arrives at the mill to find Tom, and then this is also when things get a little bit more on the crazy side. It's already
Yeah.
pretty crazy, but here we get some like some intense special
Oh yeah.
effects that are going on. So he's over there. He's looking for Tom. And Tom's car is still there. He goes down. He hears music. Goes to grab a phone, and then guess who's
The
there?
stoners.
The troublemakers. Yeah, uh, Oscar and whatever her face is.
Troublemaker too.
So Oscar pretty much threatens Jacob, and his girlfriend is like, "Whoa, he's fine." And Jacob's like, "Yeah, I'm just leaving. I'm just leaving." And then he like trips over something and falls, and then Oscar's like, "Whoa, okay." Like he's kind of sorry, but then he's also like
Yeah, he's like, "What are you
not.
pulling, old
And
man?"
then yeah, and then we see Amelia come down and just
just,
I think she bites his neck, and it's just
just
legit hose of blood. Like
it's like a lot of
I
blood.
I've seen a lot of movies, guys. I have not seen blood be like ejected from somebody's body like this
Like fucking 60 miles per
ever, dude.
hour.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's like I think that's a little bit more than like what somebody has in their body, but hey, it's fine because it's really cool.
Yep.
It's interesting. It's actually really
Yeah,
colorful.
it is.
And then we get some really good
Oh yeah.
acting right here. By let me look up her name again. Aisha Bell, who plays Amelia.
Yep.
She's like all like twitchy and kind of explaining like what's going on with Anne and like you like the masters at your house and like all this other stuff and like kind of can't stop what's coming and
Yep.
all this other stuff. Then uh, Oscar's girlfriend hits her with a 2x4 and knocks her out, and
Yep.
they
There
run
was this
out.
one quote I think that was in this part. Yeah, it was in this part too. That like, that kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting because like it was just like a teenage girl, but she's like, I'm gonna tongue fuck a hole in your throat or some shit like that.
Oh, I think I wrote that too.
I was just like, God damn, girl.
Yeah, I think she says. Yeah, I'm gonna tongue fuck a hole in your throat till I puke blood. Just like
That's
what
very
the
detailed.
fuck? Like this movie just like it turns itself on its head, you know? It's like it's very like quick to change the
Yeah,
way they're
it's
trying
almost
to
like a
make you
scary
feel, you
movie,
know?
like movie,
Yeah, it's
like
very scary
satirical.
movie vibes. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a very good way to put that.
Um,
Wow.
but yeah, no, I love that line. I was dying.
Yeah, it's very good, and like her twitching
Oh,
and her
I
makeup's
know.
really good too. But the thing with like, because they have like a red line over her eyes, and it gave me such Pennywise, like modern
Hmm.
day Pennywise vibes on that. But yeah, she's very good. If this girl does not get any more parts for
Yeah,
movies, I'm gonna be upset because her
she's
acting is
got
very
potential.
good.
Lots of potential.
She can definitely act
Yeah.
crazy.
Um, but yeah. So she reveals that the master is in his house. So he rushes out of here. With the stoner girl. She's like, "Oh, what the
Yep.
fuck happened back there?" And she's like, "We gotta call the cops. We gotta report this." He's just
That's
yeah.
fucking vampire
And
shit.
meanwhile, he's just getting in the car. He's like, "I gotta check on my wife," and she's like, "Well, fuck you too, then."
Yeah. One thing I did put here too is that we get a scene of Anne doing like the Michael Myers like sit up
Oh
like a couple of
yeah.
times. I don't know what the hell happened before that.
Oh,
Because was she knocked out?
and
I didn't write anything for
um,
that.
I don't even remember. I think she just like
Is
at
this?
one point she was just like laying on the floor and then just like sat up. Like I think that was when she was working out too, and
Oh,
she just like
maybe.
sits
Yeah, I
up.
think that might be what it was.
But
Yeah. You can discuss this next part with the
oh,
neighbor, which I think is great. This is also like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
yeah. So we cut over to a guy. He's walking outside Jacob and Ann's house. He sees her through the window. She looks like she's having a stroke or a heart attack or something. She's
Yeah, he says, "Is she having a heart attack?"
he's
I
the
was dying
conversation he has with
laughing.
himself before he goes in. He's just like, what? And then he goes up to the window. He's looking inside. He realizes she's missing. He's like, what the fuck? And she's like pressed
Yep.
up against the glass. Oh.
He's like, ah.
And then she disappears again, I believe, and he goes inside. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she sees him. No, he goes in, sees her standing in the kitchen, facing away from her. He's like, "You okay?"
She
I
does it a
know.
lot in this movie, like standing
Yeah.
away from the camera.
Um, yeah, he's like, "You okay? Will you say something? This is making me really uncomfortable." Um, and then she turns around, slashes his throat. Like
Oh my god,
it was,
that's
yeah.
very vicious.
Like not even saying a word, just um. But yeah, um. You know what? Actually, I was thinking too. I wonder if it's the same knife that gets used later too.
I did realize that they did pick up, like,
Do you see the type of
like
knife he picked up
Jacob
earlier
used
later
it,
too?
Bob
Yep.
used it, and maybe Ann did. I think three people used the exact same
And can
knife
we
in
talk
this
about the
movie.
type
Yeah.
of knife though? It has no point on it. It's like one of the like Japanese knives they use for chopping, but like so it's like a very blunt end.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
like
like
that's not gonna do too much unless yeah, it's super sharp and you have to
you have to
slash
have it at a
somebody. Yeah,
specific angle.
but um, yeah. So she slashes his throat, starts drinking his blood, and Jacob gets.
Viciously like
Oh
rips off his
yeah,
head
that's
though.
right.
Like
Yeah,
just like
some
what
very
the
unnecessary
fuck?
steps. I
Like
feel like to getting the blood.
yeah, but
Oh
the
yeah,
effects are
I
really
enjoyed.
good though. Like I have to hand it to him. There's no CGI in this
Yeah, it's
movie at
all
all.
like practical and
Well, maybe besides probably the rat scene. Well, maybe they
maybe they
probably just
trained
did.
a bunch of rats.
No, I think they probably did practical. They probably just put a bunch of like fake rats on them. I had to
Yeah,
guess. That's probably like what happened.
but
I'd love to see the
I
behind the
know,
scenes of
right?
this movie.
So yeah, so Jacob gets home and he finds Anne on the floor licking blood off of the floor, just a puddle of blood. This is kind of like bring me back to Slacks with all the puddles of blood and the pants are just slurping it up.
Oh yeah.
um, and this part gets me, and she's just like, "It wasn't me." And just
Yeah.
like, "Of course it
It's
was
just like,
you."
it's so funny, dude. Like I think these. I don't know if they were intentionally wrote to be funny
Just
or
all
if it
natural,
was. I don't
like
know,
unscripted.
but it's very fucking
Yeah.
funny, dude. Like I was dying laughing, even like second because I watched this movie twice and like I
Yeah.
was still
But
laughing at all
it's
these
like it's
parts.
almost like that's a realistic reaction too. You know what I mean? Like if you walk in and somebody's licking blood off the floor and they're like, "It wasn't me," I'm gonna be like, "Well, what do you mean? You're
Yeah.
licking off blood off the floor? You know, of course it was you."
Yeah, it's like it was definitely you, you fucker.
But so and then they start mopping up, cleaning up the blood. You got him mopping up
Yep.
blood. It's like spreading at this point. It's just so much of it.
Yeah, the
Just
whole bucket
red.
is blood
Um,
red.
it's time to change that up, buddy. And then you hear banging on the door, and Jacob's like, "Oh shit, who's this?" Um, let's see. Yeah, he opens the door. He puts a rag over his shoulder because his whole half is like just covered in blood. So he covers himself up with a towel.
It's kind of funny that like only like
Mm-hmm.
that part was
I
covered in
know,
blood,
but
but it is what it
yeah,
is. It's
there's
a
gonna be
movie.
a little like goofs like that. But it could
Yeah.
just be the angle, or you never know. Um, but
Yeah,
he answers the
exactly.
door. The sheriff is there because I believe at this point they saw
Yeah, I think his name
Mike.
is Mike
Yeah,
too.
he's like, "Hey, Mike." Um, he's like, so any news on Amelia?" He's like, "Unfortunately, no. But we did find something over at the old mill. Um, and we got a girl. Again, I forget her name, Stoner Girl.
Yeah, we'll just call her that, Stoner Girl.
She reported the police. To the police, and he's like, "Oh, she said her boyfriend Oscar was murdered. We decided to go check it out. There's no blood, no body, or nothing, but the boy is still missing." Um,
Yep.
and he's like, "Oh, well, that's strange." He's just trying to get out of the conversation at this point. And he's like, "And what's kind of strange to me?" He's like, "As I found this." He's like, "Isn't that your church's label or your logo there?" He was like, "Why, yes, it is." He's like, "Any?" Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like
like
I
a
think
little
it's like a
book.
pocket Bible or something. Um,
Yeah, something really
but
small.
so he's like, "Any idea how that might have ended up there?" And he's like, "No," as he's pulling it out of his hands and stuffing it in his pocket. So then he's like, "Well, if you hear anything, let me know." Or whatever. Or he's like, "I gotta go." Um, and then you got some noises in the background.
This part.
Meanwhile, you got a dead body just covered up in a sheet with a puddle of blood underneath it, and the sheriff's at the door.
Yeah, it's just like what the fuck.
Anne's nowhere to be found at this point yet. And then the guy, he must have been turned into a vampire or something, stands up.
Really
Yeah.
quick
Um,
too. Even with his neck like
shoot off like that.
halfway
Yeah.
off, you know.
So, uh, yeah, he stands up and runs off the screen and tackles the dude. You just
Yeah, I love that scene. That's so good.
That's another like little humorous scene there that kind of lightens the mood a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of breaks the tension that's going on with
Yeah.
Mike and Jacob.
He's like, everything okay? And then he's like, oh, no, we're good. He's like, it's just, he's like, well, Anne sounds quite busy in there. I'll leave you guys alone. um, so the sheriff leaves. Anne takes care of the dead body. And then we cut over to them burying it, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think they put a
Oh
stake
yeah,
through him first,
he
and then
hammers a stake through his chest, and then they bury him.
yeah, so it's like he knows like what to do. Like I mean, everybody knows like a vampire. You kind of just like
Yeah,
there's a certain amount of things you can do to kill them. So I mean, like I guess it's kind of basic knowledge. But it's just funny that he has like a
I know,
random
right?
stake.
He's been preparing for this day for
Just
his whole
pulls it out of his
life.
ass. Yeah, exactly. It's like wow, okay, dude, you're very ready. And then I think they're also talking about them trying to go and find the
Yep.
master at this point. Because he's like, why the hell didn't you tell me about this the first time? She's like, well, I was embarrassed and all this other stuff. And they go, yeah, they
They
bury
pour
him, and
holy
then
water on
they
him.
take a, yeah, and then he puts a coin or something
Yeah, it might be like a religious thing.
on the dirt. I don't know what that is. I don't. Must be some kind of like holy coin or
Something
something that they put
blessed,
there. 'Cause
or
it starts like
yeah.
smoking. Then they go in the car and they're going back to the mill, and they're talking about like Jacob's like, I don't want you going in there. And who knows what he's gonna do when he sees you and what you're gonna do and all this other stuff. And he's like, well, and you don't have a stake. And she's like, pull the
What?
car over. Just gets out of the car, runs to a fence, grabs a piece of wood. It's like, I have a stake now. And he's like, oh, what the fuck. So they get there, they go and investigate, and they're kind of like bickering a little bit, like you know how couples do, and they bicker and all this sort of stuff, and they saying like we should be doing this, they should be doing that, and then I think you also kind of hear Amelia too, saying Jacob's name, like it whispers. It's
Yeah.
very quick. A lot of these whispers are very quick. You gotta like really pay attention. So Amelia's still in the mill, or yeah, the mill, and then she pops up behind Jacob, and he splashes holy water on her, like melts her face, and then Anne's like, "What are you gonna kill her? Kill her!" And she goes and grabs Amelia. Jacob doesn't do
He
anything. He just kind of
hesitates,
stands there
just like,
frozen.
yeah.
And then she just jabs her stake right through her head, which I don't know if that would kill
It's
a
supposed to be the
vampire.
chest, right?
We don't. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the chest because I don't think we see Amelia
No.
after this. So maybe in this movie,
As long as they're impaled.
like stabbing them in the head kills them. Then we get a little bit more of a talk between Jacob and Anne, and Jacob's like, I don't know what you've turned me into, and all this other stuff, and Anne's kind of going into like, I know what your problem is, like you're scared and all this other stuff, and she says, I have a quote here, you don't know how to fight for me because you
Mm-hmm.
never had to. Because if we talk about, go back earlier, how she's talking to Tom and like how like she got with
Yep.
Jacob and how it was about like her mother who died and like Jacob never really had to really do anything to like like get
Yeah.
them to fall in love because he was just there to
He was
comfort.
already
So
there, and yeah.
like it kind of just happened. So he drives home. She's left there, and I think she gets like a lift home. Then Jacob wakes up in the middle of the night and says like, "What am I doing?" And I think she's still on her way home. So I don't think that much time has passed. It had to have been like maybe like an hour. Maybe he wasn't even
Yeah.
sleeping. I don't remember if he really was or not. But goes downstairs, like puts on his jacket. Then we start noticing that something is definitely off because he grabs the knife again. So this is the second time we see that exact same
Yep.
knife, I believe. Then he starts looking around. The lights start like going crazy, and then we see I think the master is behind him or like does
Yep.
something. Then we cut back to I
Yep.
believe Anne, who walks in and is like I don't know what's going on. I think she's even shouting for Jacob. Then we find Jacob is kind of sitting facing a door, holding a knife
His own
to
throat.
his throat, and then the master. This is when we actually see what the master looks like completely. See the face and everything. The design is so
Mm-hmm.
good that I didn't write down who did the makeup for this movie, but they did
Yeah,
a
he was very
very good job.
creepy.
Um, it's very creepy and it's kind of a fresh take. Sort of, it
You
has
can
like a little bit
tell
of like a
he's a
Nosferatu
vampire,
feel
yeah,
to
but
it.
like at the same time, it's not the same as every other vampire movie out there, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I could see the Nosferatu.
yeah. I think it's very very good. So then he like, kind of like says like you either need to feed or you die, and then like he has Jacob cut his throat, not fatally, just enough to make like the thirst like kind of
Yeah.
overpower. And I think the master leaves, and then we get a sex scene, quick sex scene. Like I think if I had to interpret why this was happening is because she has to redirect her mind and not,
Yeah.
you know, want to actually like eat him. But also, I think the thrill of what's going on is kind of relighting the
Yeah.
flame a little bit. So I think the more that they're doing this stuff, it's kind of like it's like an
Yeah.
adventure, and it's like, oh, okay, so this is really good.
I wonder
Yeah, it's
if like them
go ahead.
kissing and stuff though had anything to do with like did she heal him or something? Because like, they it doesn't show him treat the wound or anything. And then later in the movie he's just got a little band-aid on his neck. So I'm wondering if maybe she turned him, you know?
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
wouldn't
was
know.
I was confused about.
Oh, maybe like the cut isn't as bad as we think it is.
Maybe.
I don't know. Because like I was thinking that too. It was just like yeah, it was a very small band-aid just on
Yeah.
his neck. So maybe.
But
And we get the next scene. How they're kind of talking, like Anne's talking about, like, wow, this thirst is getting really, really strong. And then Jacob's
I,
like, try this. And here comes the weed. He's just had that for like it feels like maybe
yeah.
like a week. He's like, here you go, try this. She's like, oh wow, it really does help. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's a new thing that weed kind of cures
I guess
vampire
so.
hunger. So,
And then they have like a heart to heart
and
and they, kind of make up and, establish a plan of how they're gonna deal with this whole thing.
yep. And I will let you guide us into the next part, which is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Really funny too.
So after their deep conversation, um, they get a call from I forget who it is, but one of their neighbors or one of their neighbors' daughters.
Yeah, like one of the
Yeah.
church people.
Asking if they can check on I forget the name Annie, I want to say. Not Annie, Maddie.
Maddie.
That's right. Yeah. So they asked them to go check on Maddie. They haven't heard on it from her in a while. So they're like, yeah, we can do that. Sorry, my cat's being crackheads. Yeah.
Aren't they always?
So they go over to Maddie's house. They decide to go check on her. And they find her dead in her bed. Seemingly from natural causes. They even checked her. They're like, there's no bite marks. She wasn't attacked by a vampire. So we're assuming she died peacefully at this point. And they're like, well, why let this go to waste? They roll her up and
Yeah, I think he does like a little prayer
yeah.
or something.
He recites some like Bible verses or something. And they decide to roll up in the blankets and load her up into the car because Anne needs to feed. And I forgot to mention there's a little girl standing outside the house. But when they pull in, just staring at them, not saying anything, and they come out and they have what's clearly a dead body rolled up in a rug or a blanket, and she's like, "That looks heavy." Yeah.
This girl's really funny.
And so like, yeah, she's like, go away. They're like, she's like, I'm not going away. I'm gonna stand here. She's like, he's like, oh, we're helping her. This is our laundry. She's like, that looks like Maddie wrapped up in a blanket. They're just like, get the fuck out of here. And she's like, only if you teach me a swear word.
Like, what?
She goes, fuck off. She's like, I already know that one. And they're like, oh, fuck it. And they just throw the body in the trunk and just drive off. I thought that little girl was going to have something to do with this whole thing, to be honest. I thought, like, the way it focused on her, like, as they were leaving, like, that she was going to, like, be a vampire or some shit like that. But I don't know.
I don't know if I felt that way, but I think
like a little twist, just like
it being like everybody else in the
being
neighborhood or
all being
something.
vampires or something.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
that would have been really funny.
But yeah, so and then we got more nosy neighbors. Again, it's a small town. Everybody knows each other's business. Um,
Yep.
so they notice Jacob and Anne loading a dead body into their from their trunk into their house and decides to call the sheriff. And so the sheriff's like, "Oh, that doesn't sound right." Um, but yeah. So then we cut over to Jake on the highway, I believe. Jacob on the highway. He's driving
Yeah.
his car.
Yeah. Because Anne is just at home, going
Yeah.
to do something with Maddie, which we will see what
Yeah.
she's doing.
Yeah,
Uh,
so she's taking care of the body, which you'll find out soon enough. And we have Jacob driving on the highway. Um, he gets pulled over by the sheriff and his deputy. Um, they start questioning him. He's like, "Why don't you make this easier on my back? Turn off the ignition, get out of the car." So works with them. He cooperates. He gets out of the car. He's like, "Well, what's in the suitcase?" Because he's got this big ass suitcase in his front seat. He's like, "Do you mind if we look?" He's like, "Well, actually, I do." He's like, He's like, "I have a really important meeting I got to get to. It's medical equipment." So they pull him around the back of the car. They take his suitcase out of the car. They open it and they find steaks and holy water, just a whole like vampire hunting kit.
and Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's
Yep.
like the novel of
Oh yeah,
Dracula's just in
Dracula.
there too. It's just like, what the fuck? And also one thing I do want to note here, his deputy,
Oh,
if
yep.
people don't know, is played by CM
CM
Punk. So after because he stopped wrestling, I think a couple years ago, and tried to go into the acting business like all these other wrestlers are
Yeah.
doing now. And this is, I think, the first movie I actually saw him in. He doesn't really have that big of a role,
He's in there though.
but he's kind of funny for the things that he says. I didn't know that was CM Punk until like before the movie came out. Barbara Crampton took a picture with him, and I saw it on Twitter. So I was like, oh, he's in this movie. That was kind of
Yeah, I didn't know
interesting to
until
see.
I read the cast list actually.
He
Right.
looks way different now.
But let's see. Jake's pulled over, and then the dinner party.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, but I guess when Jacob was over speaking to Bob before like he would go find Tom, he's like, you need to make sure you find out what's going on
Before the dinner, yeah.
this weekend because we're gonna go have a dinner. I don't
Yeah.
want things to be awkward.
So they arrive at the house and they just walk on right in too, which I guess I do that at my mother's house. So I guess if you're family, it's all right. But
Yeah, it's just like, well, they know that we're gonna
yeah,
be here,
so
whatever. We know there's a time, but clearly, obviously, Anne and Jacob completely forgot because they have like more important stuff to worry about instead
yeah.
of a dinner. So.
They walk in and this is Bob and Carol, the brother and his wife. They arrive at the house for a dinner party and they find Anne with a dead body hanging off the ceiling, draining the blood with like funnels and like a bunch of
freaking slaughtered cow.
And they're just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Oh,
Anne.
Oh, so they decide to call the cops, and then we got Bob holding a knife to Anne, right? At this point,
I think he's just walking. He's holding it. I think he's on the phone.
he's on the
like,
phone with the
"No, I'm
police, and
not
he's
gonna
like,
put
"Yeah,
it
he's
there."
pacing with a knife, that same knife from earlier."
The same fucking knife. They had the
Yeah,
budget
right.
just for that one
What's
knife.
our knife budget? $5.
Nice.
Go to Walmart.
Oh, okay. All right. Just make sure you wash it.
So yeah, and then you see Carol. She's waiting outside. She's pacing. She wants to know what the fuck's going on. But there's a dead body in there. She doesn't want to look at it. I don't blame her. But it's.
And that
I
smell
know.
too. Who knows?
Because who knows how long that lady was dead for.
Yeah,
I wonder
exactly.
if blood expires. Now that I think of it, like,
Blood. I mean, it will most likely like coagulate pretty quickly. So I think
It's
at
like
that
tomato
point
sauce.
it would probably maybe if you add water to it, maybe it will kind of
Any
thin it out.
vampires
Who
out there?
knows?
We got some questions for you.
Yeah, let us know. How do you keep blood from
um.
coagulating?
So, anyways, she's waiting outside, and then she's just kind of pacing. She's doesn't know what's going on, and you see her just kind of get pulled off screen, real quick.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, just
Whoa!
whoa. Um.
Yeet.
So, and then they decide. Bob, he doesn't see her out the window. He's on the phone. He runs outside with the knife and his cell phone in hand. He's like, "Carol, where are you? Where are you?" Anne comes
Yep.
out with him. He's like, "I don't trust you right now." He's like, "Stay the fuck away from me," but he's like, "Stay in my sight."
Yeah, exactly. It's like keep your
But
distance.
so they see Carol. She's kind of like out back in the yard. And she's facing again the opposite direction, away from the camera.
Like that's the one thing that this movie does a lot is we gonna constantly have people face away from the camera to add suspense and
I mean,
what's
hey, it
going on.
works. But
Yeah.
yeah, they do that a lot. So they walk up to her. It sounds like she's reciting like Bible verses or something religious. I'm not a religious person, so I don't really know. Like,
Yeah, she's definitely saying some weird shit, but then you also know like at this point it's not her, it's
yeah, she's
definitely
been bit, yeah,
the
or
master.
possessed. And she turns around, or they turn her around, and neck's been chewed up. It looks like a dog got to her.
Yep.
And then she's got a rat in her hand and decides to chew this thing's
Yeah.
head off like nothing, which maybe that's a reference to Ozzy Osbourne. I know it was a bat with him, but
Oh, maybe.
they're like, "Oh,
Maybe like
it sounds the
somewhere
same.
like
It's a rat."
subconsciously.
um,
Yeah. It was
I
pretty crunchy
know.
too.
Yeah, I know. The sound just kind of like, ooh, I know.
Crunch. It was
Um,
great though.
and then if you want to go into the next part when we meet the master again.
Yeah, so Carol dies. I think the because her neck is slit, so I think she just dies from that. Then Bob, we see from him because Anne's looking at Carol, and then
Yep.
after she's done, we turn around and um she's now looking at Bob, and we see the master behind him, and once again we get a neck bite and just a freaking hose of blood everywhere, and then we get the confrontation of Master and Anne, and they talk for a little bit, and this is like you see the Master like everything, like we even see like what he's wearing. I think it's a he.
Thank.
I want to say it's a he. Usually when you say Master, it's usually
Yeah.
he. I
Usually.
think, but we'll talk about that too. I'll tell you who the actors Master. So they're talking, and he's describing to Anne like what he is and how he grew up, and like how being what he is now made things way better. He asks Anne like what did she want, and she says, "I just want to live a more fulfilling life." And he's like, "Well, you can, like, right, your opportunity has always been
Yeah.
there to do that." Then he pretty much offers her to bite him to kind of subdue the thirst a little bit, and fully um, turn, because at this point she's even saying like his reason why this stuff isn't really happening, or like my teeth isn't here, is just because I haven't really committed to what I was
Yeah.
supposed to do. And he's like, yes, so that's why you need to bite me, and we'll get this going. Then we see behind them is the sheriff, the deputy, and Jacob, and the deputy shoots at the master, which he doesn't really give a shit. And they're like, "Oh, I got him!" And it's like, "No,
Shit.
you didn't." Then he's still talking to Anne, and Anne's getting more convinced, and she starts changing. Her eyes are getting really red, and she's getting ready to bite him. And he's like turning the ground. He gets like the
Oh
people to
yeah,
be
like
stuck
arms came out
like
and
in
like
the
grabbed
mud.
them.
Yeah, so like the other vampire, I guess, like came back or something. Like he like was able to like resurrect him. which is weird because I thought as soon as they were
That they were
staked,
gone.
they would be dead. But Jacob's still just kind of there, and then I think at this point he's remembering from earlier that Anne was kind of telling him like I need help with certain things and like why don't you help me? And I think at this point, because you kind of see on his face too, is like I need to do something. I
Yeah.
need to help her. But then you see Anne kind of already like committing to like okay, I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna bite him and get all this. But then Jacob stabs the master, and then we get another crazy like hose blood that's like
It
grayish
almost looks like
blue.
water.
Yeah, it's very weird. And then he like pretty much just like I think he like melts away, right, or something
Yeah.
weird like that.
He just kind of like turns to
He just
ashes
like
or something. Yeah.
drains. Yeah, and she's like, "Why did you do that?" He's like, "Well, I was trying to help." She's like, "I want to make my own decisions." And then we get like the sheriff and the deputy like, "How are we gonna write this up?" He's like, "Domestic." I think it was domestic
Yeah,
disturbance or domestic abuse,
yeah, and they just
non-violent.
walk off.
And they're like, "Sounds good." So then we get to the ending scene of Jacob and Anne, and they're talking about, so what are we gonna do now? Are they gonna find a cure? Are they still gonna
They're gonna
live?
move away.
Anne's like, we should sell the house and just kind of like go away, disappear. And he's like, am I supposed to trust you and all this other stuff? And she's like, well, I like the way I am now. And then we get them like kind of coming at each other, and we get like a freeze frame of Jacob pretty much about to stab Anne, and
Like
Anne
bite
about to
him.
either like turn Jacob or completely kill him, and that's the end of
Yeah,
the
you can
movie.
tell that at the end they don't really like trust each other, but like it almost looks like that's what they needed. Like it kind of like it doesn't really say anything about it, but like I like to think that like afterwards they went on and had like an exciting marriage and like it somehow worked for them.
Yeah, it's just like they needed something to kind of like rebuild their frame and like get the
And
fire
that
going again.
apparently did the trick.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other fact things I want to talk about before we get into like our discussion of what we thought of this movie. I gotta finish out the actors. So we have Bonnie Aarons, who is the actor or actress for The Master,
You
and
say
I
Bonnie?
didn't know this. Bonnie
Huh.
Aarons, yep. So it's a girl playing, I guess, a boy, but she also played the nun that's in the Nun, and she was also another nun in The
Huh.
Conjuring 2. So she has some pretty good credits there. Then we have Mark Kelly, who played Bob Fetter. He didn't really have much credits. The only thing I could find was The Night Stalker, which I haven't seen that movie. Also, we have Sarah Lind, played Carol Fetter, who I saw this movie, and it's actually kind of a fun one. It's called Wolf Cop, which is also
Hmm.
on Shudder. I'm pretty sure it's still on Shudder. If you guys want to see that, she was, I think, kind of a lead role in that. Let's see, and I think that's about everybody I have for the cast. And now I want to get into Barbara's take on this. I got some of this from listening to another podcast, which is on Postmortem.
Mick
You guys know I
Garris.
like to listen to that. That's with Mick Garris, and he did an interview with Barbara and Larry. I think like the day after the movie came out, and Barbara was pretty much talking about how I think this script was written for a long time, and she knew about it because of Travis, because I think they're
Yeah.
close friends. And I think it went around in a circuit for a festival and finally got bought, and then Shudder, which is weird to me because I bought the movie, and when you boot it up, you get the Shudder
Oh yeah.
logo and their theme,
It's not on Shutter.
but it's not on the actual
I was
app.
wondering about that.
So I wonder if it's just for a limited time, like we said before, like it is a limited run in the theater, so it might actually still be
Yeah.
in theaters. Once that limited run's done, it'll probably be ported to Shudder, and you can also
Yeah.
obviously buy it. So she was saying like this movie is very close to the heart to her because she's in a long time marriage, and Larry's also in a long time marriage, and they're
Yeah.
good friends. And she was explaining like this movie speaks because when you're with someone for so long, you lose your way and you got to find a way to kind of get back. And this movie definitely is
Mm-hmm.
that. It's two people who have been together, I think, was it
30
30 or
years.
40
Yeah.
years or something like that, and they're so drifted apart, and now she gets this new thing, and then it starts like bringing them back together, sort of, and then like you gotta kind of find your way out of whatever was going on. Barbara said like if she couldn't get Larry to do this, then she wasn't going to be on this, and Larry
Yep.
agreed to do it. And I think the match is very good. I think the chemistry that those two have on screen is amazing, and they are definitely two actors that are very much a powerhouse in the horror
Yeah.
genre.
And they work very well together, I think.
Yes, they know how to definitely work with each other from scene to scene. Um, but if I had to score this like we had been, I would probably give this like an 8.5, maybe a 9. There's a couple of things with them like reusing the let's have everybody face away from the camera cliche they
Yeah.
have in there. There was some things that they probably could have touched up on writing wise, but probably trying to get in the comedy transitions a little bit better and not just like thrown
Yeah.
at you. Even though they're very funny and I like the jokes that they have and like all this other stuff. But this is like some super
Yeah.
minor stuff. But yeah, I would have to say 8.5 out of 9 blood splatters. But what do you think, Aaron?
8.5 out of 9. Um,
Yeah.
I'm probably
Well, out of 10, I'm saying like 8.5
or
or
9.
9 out of
Okay,
10.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
It's okay.
give it a nice even 8 out of 10 blood splatters.
8. What are your do you have any gripes with this
Um,
film? Is there anything that
a
you think they
lot of
could have done
it,
better?
same like feedback you had. Like a lot of it is kind of cliche, but not a lot of it, but some, there's a few cliche parts in there. But
Yep.
I mean, I overall like I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. But
Super fun. I'm honestly probably gonna watch
yeah,
it again tonight. When I just watched it today before this. It's because it's like every time I watch it, I think I like find some other like weird things that are going on, and I like looking at the
yeah,
master. Like I honestly think the ending of the film is probably the strongest part of it, just because of the acting, the makeup, everything else that's going on. There's a lot of like balancing acts you have to do, like Anne, the master, then Jacob, like also trying to figure out what the
yeah,
hell to do, and then you got like the sheriff and the deputy, and there's like so many confrontations going on. I think it's very good, and also like once again the pacing of you slowly seeing who the
yep.
master
I
is, like
enjoyed
because
that.
even Anne says like I don't even know who he
Like a
is. I only
shape,
see
yeah,
black. Yeah, so it's like you're really seeing him as she's
yeah,
seeing him. Because it's very much through her eyes. This is about Anne. You know, it says Jacob's wife. You know, obviously, when you hear like a name in the title, you think, oh, it's going to be
yeah,
about that person. But it's actually about his wife. It's actually Jacob's wife. It's not
mm-hmm.
Jacob. You know, so I think it's
Yeah.
very good. I enjoyed
I
the
did
hell
too.
out of this. I
Um,
really did.
I like the score in it too. Like the music was nice,
Yeah, it was very
but
minimal.
it was
It
effective.
wasn't too much. It was very good, and I think the ending song and also the song they used in the middle about like talking about
Yeah,
vampires and stuff was
I
also
liked in the credits too that after this music though it was just kind of like background noises like rats and stuff squeaking, crawling around, which kind of
yeah, very
yeah
creepy, very eerie. It's very good. So yeah, I highly recommend everybody to go watch Jacob's Wife. Once again, I'm going on Rotten Tomatoes after this to boost this audience score because a 56 does not sit well
yeah
with
it
me.
deserves more.
It deserves way more. I mean, this is Barbara Crampton, like being Barbara Crampton, and this is Larry Feziden being Larry Feziden. They're doing the best they can, and their chemistry is absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to see more movies with them, and it's it's great. Another good Barbara Crampton thing you guys need to watch right now is the latest episode of Creepshow on Shudder. She plays something that she doesn't normally play, which is like a really stuck-up bitch, and it's very good. I mean, you can kind of say that she's like that in this film, but not
Yeah.
really. She's very like confused. But yeah, it's very good. I think it's called Pipe
Pipe
Screams.
screams.
Very very good. And also, if you guys want cool shirts like I'm wearing, go check out Cavity Colors. This is the Team Godzilla shirt, and they have a bunch of other Godzilla versus Kong stuff that's really good, and a bunch of other range of horror movies. And their quality of clothes and everything is top notch. I enjoy them a lot. I got actually Aaron a sweatshirt I think a couple months ago that he
Still wear it to
loves.
this day, every
So
fucking day.
super comfortable. So once again, Aaron, we can tell everybody where they can find us. You can obviously find us here on Twitch that we're doing this, which is twitch.tv/Baron's Hideout _podcast. Also on Twitter, which is the I think it's the BHO _podcast. Then Instagram, which is Baron's Hideout, and also on TikTok, which is mainly used for promotional reasons, which is I think just the Baron's Hideout. What about you, Aaron? Where can people
Like
find
I said earlier, I'm mostly on Instagram. The link to my Instagram page is in the link tree. I'll also type it down in the chat. If you like pictures of animals and you want to get updates on the podcast, anything horror, music related, give me a follow.
Yes, because we Aaron and I are both metalheads, so we love stuff like that. Also, if you want to support us even further, you can join our Patreon. We have 3 tiers there. The first one starts at $1, then it goes to 2, and then it goes to no, it goes to 3, then it goes to 6. Sorry. And each tier has a lot of good stuff. They all pretty much. The first one includes early access to all the audio versions of every episode that we have. Also, you get a bonus Wednesday topic episode, and you also get access to our Discord. Our tier 2 includes everything the first one does, and it also includes all the notes that Aaron and I use for our episodes. They're not the best, but I like to give you guys like a little bit more of a background of what we're doing and like how we write things down. And it also includes a sticker if you are supporting us for 3 months. Then we go to our most expensive, which is $6, which includes everything the last 2 tiers have, and that includes movie picking power, so you guys can help decide what movie we want to review, or if there's something that you guys want us to review, and you get gifted a sub to this channel, and I think that's it, and it also includes a sticker. So that's pretty much all the stuff that we have going on here. We are live every Saturday at 9 p.m. or around 9 p.m. Eastern time to do these podcasts. Do them live just to be more interactive with you guys, but we also post everything the next day to all the other platforms. So it goes on YouTube, which is a video formatted, and then it also goes on
iTunes.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, a bunch of other places, all audio. But if you want all that stuff before everybody else, you can go check out our Patreon, and I will actually put that into chat right now. Hopefully the link works, because I was saying for some reason it wasn't working. There it is. That is the Patreon. You guys want to support us a little bit more. I think that's all I have for today's episode. Aaron, is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think just about covered everything.
Uh, Once again, this movie is definitely
Yeah.
worth the watch. Do not skip on this. Do not sleep on it, guys. Watch it now while it's hot, because it's very, very good. Like I said, I'm definitely going to watch it again after
Feel
this.
free to start a conversation with us
So,
about it, anything you noticed,
yep.
go in Discord and share your thoughts with us.
Yes, it's going to be absolutely awesome. So once again, this is the Baron's Hideout podcast. I am your host, Dustin,
Aaron.
and we will see you guys next time.
Peace
Stay
out.
spooky, guys,
If you
and have a
dare.
good one.